Welcome back to the Upbeat, answering questions you have but don't know who to ask. Each week, a new episode will cover a topic that you want to hear about. Real talk with real people. This week, we're talking about sports, specifically now that they're here, if we're really ready for them to come back. When quarantine began, we were in the middle of the NBA and NHL seasons, while spring training for Major League Baseball was just beginning. With COVID-19 entering states, we saw sports themselves collapse, and all professional, college, and amateur athletes were faced with a new reality. A world without America's favorite pastime, while all we had was time to pass. A world without sports. We find ourselves here in August with the NBA returning in the Orlando bubble, and Major League Baseball having a rocky start with an outbreak on the Miami Marlins. The question still remains. Are we really ready for sports to start again? Colleges have to grapple with this question as the fall term is on its way. The Big Ten and Pac-12 have postponed their football season to the spring, and many schools have outright canceled their fall sports seasons. One of those schools is Emerson College, who has decided to not field their 7 fall teams. We spoke with Patricia Nicol, the athletic director at Emerson, about the decision and why the sports community has some important decisions to make very soon.
My name is Pat Nicol. I'm the director of athletics here at Emerson, and starting believe it or not, my 7th year here at Emerson. So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
What was the end of sports like for you? We really had at Emerson specifically, it was a very hard moment. It hit very quickly, and we all had to kind of leave campus in this mass exodus. But first we had the NBA end their season, and that kind of felt like the last nail in the coffin, so to speak. And what did that kind of moment feel for you as an athletic director?
It was, I want to use the word, it was shocking because it happened so quickly. And, I look back on it and I just, I feel that so many things were left undone and unsaid. Especially when the student athletes couldn't have their season. That was heartbreaking. I mean, as a former student athlete, that's gut-wrenching, especially for us seniors. And then, our coaches, that was a mass exodus because at that time, there was so much uncertainty around the virus that in order to provide the best assurance of health and safety, everybody had to leave very quickly.
And now with the addition of fall having to not participate in their seasons this year, but the prospect of possible practices, some form of senior day activities, there's still some concerns as to what's really going to happen when we do come back together. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
What are some of those concerns?
Well, the concerns are the what ifs. And, we have really been working very, very, very hard with, the fitness center staff, the athletic training staff, the administrative staff, the coaches, to put processes and protocols in place to ensure and to follow all of the NCAA and the state COVID guidelines. But again, it's the uncertainty. Our coaches and the athletic staff, we can kind of keep the athletes, if you will, in a bubble during their practice time and while coaches have, oversight of their teams. But what happens when they leave Roch, or what happens when they leave P. Row and, they're walking the streets of Boston? So as much as we can put in place proactively, we still don't know how this is all going to shake out. And that's unsettling. And the difference between the spring athletes and the fall athletes is when the decision was made to cancel participation, it was obviously an extreme disappointment, but it wasn't as much of a shock as it was for the spring athletes.
We've seen the return of college sports in some capacity and the national basketball programs and so many different larger institutions. The MLB is back. What does that kind of say, and why is it so important that they're coming back? And what are your feelings about them returning at this stage?
Well, I think that the Power 5 conferences, their revenue is generated from their sport programs, primarily their football programs. So they have not made a decision yet, but I think a lot of it is financially driven, tuition driven, and they're talking about moving football to the spring. But if you do that, then the recovery period for a football player is only a couple of months, whereas if it's a fall program, they have almost 6 to 8 months to recover. My thoughts, I don't think one should ever put finances over the health and safety of young people. But much of it is driven financially.
What have we kind of learned about sports? We've seen that we can play in different formats. Things have changed very drastically in the national stage, and we're seeing a lot more social justice work within a sports realm. Do you think that's a trend that is more new, or is it just new to people that haven't seen it before? Because we know these athletes have been doing work in their communities, but now we're really seeing it center stage, and the NBA is backing these things, and a lot of the organizations are being a part of it.
Well, I think it's good that it's in the national spotlight now. And I know there were pockets that were doing social justice work, but I think now the country is coming together and collectively, the work has become more visible, more focused, more intentional. And athletics is a wonderful platform for many different causes. And I think that any way that the right things can become visible and good work can become visible, then let's go for it. I completely support.
More on an Emerson specific side, what is your goal this year for the athletic department at Emerson? Of course, the safety of our students is paramount, and that's really the main goal, I'm sure. But what are some of the other goals this year to kind of give students that experience and kind of the community that athletics brings to them?
Well, the most difficult part of this whole thing is staying engaged, and especially with athletic teams. We're together, we're bonded. It's a family, and when that's taken away, that's tough. And one of my goal is to continue to try to keep our students engaged, our coaches engaged, the staff engaged. But that's a tough question, Sam, because we don't know what we're going to look like. What we've had to do here in athletics is I had to develop a schedule that it's staggered. It's a staggered schedule. So there'll only be 2 individuals in this office at any one time. And that's tough if you're really trying to keep everybody engaged. The good news is that the student athletes, their coaches will be back on campus at least twice a week. They'll be down at Roch. They'll be over in the fitness center. So the big thing is to just stay engaged because, as you know, we won't be competing in the fall. The winter is still up in the air. We're looking to the NUMAC or the college, even the NCAA are looking to make a decision by sometime in mid-October to see where we stand, and then to make a determination as to what the winter season will look like.
Right. And it's difficult not kind of planning ahead multiple angles as to what could happen, where do we go, especially with an athletics lens to it as well.
Correct. I mean, we are fully committed that, based on, where we are with numbers and, what is happening within the state, we are fully committed to participating and competing. But again, at the end of the day, Sam, it's not going to be our call.
Right.
So it's just not that we're waiting to see. Like I said, we have protocols in place right now to at least practice, stay engaged. Our coaches will be, and the administrative staff will be present. The return date for us will be August 24th. And then we'll just keep trying to be nimble and pivoting as we move forward with this based on what is in front of us.
If you could give a piece of advice to a student athlete that's either about to start their career or is coming to the end of one, what would that be?
I think that what athletics teaches us is what we're going through right now. That it's a challenge, it's adversity, it's like a bad injury. You just have the strength and the character that we develop from being an athlete. That will carry us through, I think, in a better way than a student who has not experienced being a student athlete. We'll get through it. We don't like it. We're going to come out stronger on the other side because of this. I think strength is developed by going through adversity. And, I don't think that's a cliche. I really believe that. So what I would say is, looking at it right now, yeah, it stinks. But, when we look back, we can say this impacted us. We got through it. We did. I know you don't like the term unprecedented, but we made it through some very unprecedented times, and we did it strongly. We don't like it, but we understand it's out of our control, and we will be stronger for this. There's no doubt in my mind.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.
Imagine graduating from college and starting a new job during a pandemic. Then add the fact that the job is in an industry that was brought to a complete standstill from the beginning. That was Sam Knox's reality. We spoke to him about his experience getting started in a world put on pause.
I'm Sam Knox. Went to Emerson from 2016 to a shortened 2020 due to COVID-19. So I did play baseball at Emerson for all 4 years. And really enjoyed it. Obviously it's a grind, as many athletes in the Division III level know. And I did enjoy it though, and I was able to get a job at post grad. And it's I'm a sports anchor and a reporter at WREX TV in Rockford, Illinois. And it's been pretty crazy.
And what was that kind of initial hit like for you? We kind of watched from Emerson's campus, the NBA end its season. We watched them leave the court. Games get canceled. That was really crazy. And then we kind of expected our seasons to kind of end at that point. What was that kind of end of sports like for you, being being involved in sports so heavily, and then also being a player? All of those things ending at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was very weird, and I say it to myself all the time, being out here right now during this time, during COVID-19 and all the protests that are going on. I sometimes forget where I was like 4 months ago. I'm like, oh my goodness, I was in Boston. None of this was shut down. It was all normal, really. Everything was normal. And now I'm in a totally different state, halfway across the country, working full time now. There's been a lot of adjustment in these few months, but I think it's been going well for me. But seeing it happen like that, in March, I remember I was working at Channel 7 as a writer, and I just remember seeing that the game had been postponed. There had been talks about it, but I was like, I don't know, because you never see professional sports go into something like this. I mean, we've seen the swine flu and other things that have happened, but nothing this major. And when I saw that, and I saw that stuff started getting shut down, it was kind of at first it was like a joke, like, oh, we're gonna get shut down, oh, COVID's gonna shut us down, and then we were like, oh my goodness, like this might actually be a thing, and we didn't really think it was gonna be that legit, but then it started kicking in that other schools started shutting down. I think MIT shut down right before, and then it was us. So. It was crazy, a lot of adjustment, but literally just a whole new world.
Seeing as how sports are so important to the world, even more so now, we didn't really recognize it as much. I think we start to realize that this is a major part in a lot of people's lives, whether you play sports, whether you watch sports, whether you work for an industry like this. Mm-hmm. Why are sports so important now, even more so than they were before?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's so important because it's an outlet for everyone. Sports are a way to escape from all the news in today's world. And I think it's something, again, that brings a community together. It's something that a lot of people have in common, whether it's rooting for one team or just a sport in general. It's very, very important to communities in the world. And I think it helps with mental health too. I think people are able to really enjoy sports and, like I said, just get away from the bad news. And that's why I love what I do. It's because, a lot of the newscasts, and just in general, all over the place, a lot of the time the news isn't great news. And then it gets to sports and, you're like, oh, here we go. We got to go into sports and, we get to have fun with it. So it's really, it's a place where everyone can come together and root for their specific team or just enjoy the game and just watch it and kind of get away from what's going on.
And now we've seen all these athletes, even more so than they were doing before, use this as a platform and be able to try and fight for that change that a lot of us are kind of hoping for. But we get to enjoy seeing them play, but still understand that this is a part of their lives too. So it's a really, really interesting time for us.
It is.
With that being said, with sports returning, you touched a little bit on it. What are some of the concerns you have? And your side, of course, sports coming back is a big part of your industry. But at the same time, are we really ready for sports? Do we think we're in a place where medically we can keep everyone safe and still provide a experience? The NBA's done a really great job. We had a spike on the Marlins with the MLB. So what do you think is possible right now?
It's tough to say when it's okay to. I think it's really not going to be fully okay to return until there's a vaccine. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. This thing spreads like crazy, like we've seen. With these teams, a couple of teams have gotten it, and it feels. I don't feel like they rushed back the MLB and the NBA. I just think that it's high risk. But like I said, I think the MLB is doing a great job giving us that outlet. This is big that they're doing this, and I think they understand the health of people, but at the same time, they understand that the country needs something to watch and some sports. So I think it's been big that way.
What was it kind of like graduating, knowing you were going into an industry that was kind of on pause, that you didn't know the future of it? I feel like a lot of people now are kind of feeling that way, that especially your graduating class, my graduating class, they're kind of feeling this pressure that they're about to leave into industries that are not the same as when they first were planning to go into them. What was that kind of like for you?
Yeah. So when we were first sent home, like we've been saying, this is new for everyone. So it was kind of just like, all right, I'm going to take this time to not only finish these two classes I have left, but at the same time, I get to, work on my applications, and it gave me more time to do that. And I think that was a big help because, by the time May came around, I had a job. But thinking about sports, I was applying for news jobs too. I was applying for news and sports. I didn't know if I was going to get a sports job, so I was applying to news reporter jobs as well. So it was definitely interesting. It gave me a lot of time to apply for jobs. It really did. Just being at home all the time, it gave me a lot of time to work on stuff. And I think in some ways it did help the process because, I didn't have baseball all the time there in March, April. I was able to just kind of grind out the job applications and stuff like that. It wasn't, it was stressful, but it wasn't as stressful as it would be with class and baseball. And obviously I would choose class and baseball and being stressed and being in Boston rather than being at home shut down. So it sucked going home. I was able to get the jobs, and that's what's most important. So and lost some things along the way, but I got a job that's important. So.
And how has this job been for you? Starting this new job during a pandemic is learning any new routine during a pandemic is of course crazy.
Right.
But you're doing reporting work, you're doing all sorts of different things.
Yep.
You're kind of building a new group of people in a whole new place during a pandemic, which a lot of students are going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be going to college and spending a lot of time in their rooms, locked up, away from kind of the rest of the typical experience. So how has that kind of been for you, going somewhere you don't know and meeting a whole new group of people?
A whole new world, man. A whole new world. It has been an adjustment and a half. It's been tough at times, but like we were saying, I have this group of friends that's great. The station I work for is fantastic. They have a great family vibe about them. They're there for you all the time. I can't explain how great my boss is, my sports director. He's so awesome. Just as he's a great dude, a great leader. And I couldn't imagine working for anyone else. I'm just very lucky and blessed to just have a job, especially in the sports industry. I still get to anchor sports on the weekends, and I still get to shoot stuff during the week when there's not too much news going on. But everything's for, experience, and I'm just happy. I'm so lucky to have a job right now, because we know there's a lot of kids that I graduated with that are still at home right now and they don't have anything because of what's going on. So just very lucky.
If you could give a piece of advice to a student athlete, an athlete, somebody kind of going back out into the world right now during all this, from something you've learned recently, what would that kind of be?
Don't take the job hunt too seriously. I know that sounds kind of bad, but it's easy to kind of get lost in the applications and getting that job. Sometimes when you're doing that, you kind of lose out on some of the fun of college. And I know it's going to be different with COVID, but it's important to kind of stay in the moment, enjoy, the now, and being a student and being an athlete. I mean, you get to play. That's fantastic if you do get to play this year. So just enjoying that, and just staying in the moment, and obviously working hard on job applications and getting into the industry, but at the same time, don't kill yourself with it. You know what I mean? Just be able to have fun and work hard. Really, that's my biggest piece of advice.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, man. Yeah.
This will be the last episode of the Upbeat for this season. Neely and I are heading back to school in Boston and don't know where we'll end up. I'm excited for some change, especially since I've been here for so long. I don't know if this is the end of the Upbeat, but I do know this is the end for now. We wanted to show you how we produce the show, so you get a better feel of the process and how it's worked for us over the last few weeks. Every episode starts the minute the last episode aired. Neely and I get together, we start to figure out who exactly we can talk to, who we can reach out to, and we have 2 weeks to figure out exactly what we're going to do for the next episode. Once we've done that, we write and workshop it until we figure out exactly what we want to say and how we want to say it. We have a general structure now after the first episode, which was kind of difficult initially. But now, once we have our script all put together and all the pieces combined, we're ready to go. We've had our interviews. I'll do those usually the second week in the 2 weeks that we have. And then we start our whole filming of the actual show. We like to wait until after the interviews are done, so that way we can make changes and adjustments to the script if needed. We typically will shoot on Thursday or Friday and then be ready for release on Sunday. A typical shoot day consists of me waking up, getting the lights and the teleprompter and my camera and everything set up and ready to go. I start by getting the desk ready, clearing everything off and getting set up. It is my parents' room that's my makeshift studio, so I have to make sure everything's put back together by the time I'm done. I set up all the lights that I've come up with using extension cords and whatever. I end up then setting up my makeshift teleprompter, which I built from a old picture frame, a piece of wood, and a wooden dowel, and some cloth that I throw over the top. I get my camera set up, I get the audio equipment ready, and my teleprompter is an old tablet computer that I had from a long time ago that runs very slowly but works perfect for the teleprompter. I get my script ready and I hop in the seat and I film the show. The setup usually takes me about 30 minutes to set up. I spend about 30 minutes shooting, and then I get everything edited and put together for the show. This week, Neely, the producer of this show, and myself have decided to end the season with a PSA for the current moment. We gathered a group of friends and past guests from the show, so you may recognize some of them. Please check out the amazing work and projects they've been doing during this in the description below. There's no other way to say it. The world's pretty messed up right now.
We have a lot of work to do.
It's gonna take all of us working together like never before.
We all want to see a better tomorrow, and now's the time.
Change can only come from being uncomfortable.
And we're definitely uncomfortable right now. So now, it's our time.
Let's get to work.
Wear a damn mask.
So wash your hands, please.
Stay back. Further. Further away.
Stay creative. And go color or something.
Just be nice.
And remember, stay safe, stay well, and be kind. This show began as a way to fill my time and keep me engaged with friends and peers who were spread around the globe. It's turned into so much more. I've had the opportunity to speak to people doing so much and showing me just how tough we can be as individuals during something as crazy as this. Thank you all for being a part of this show, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Leave your topics, questions, and stories in the comments below. We'll take them all. I'm Samuel Willinger with the Upbeat. See you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and be kind. Thanks, everybody.